I'm thinking back to like when I was a young architect and during university days, I would do internships in various companies. And this boss, because you're young and you're like eagle beaver and you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and so my boss would always call me in to sit with the clients, and I realized that my only function there was just to sit there and just basically look pretty in a corner. And I mean, my time is being paid for. I mean, it's my office hours. So is that sexual harassment? I'm not sure.
I think we're increasingly thinking that is, because I think, the challenge with women in the workplace is that sometimes we are judged not only about our contribution, but also about how we look. I mean, I don't know what your experience, but in the workplace, we find that probably people make more comments about how women look than how men look.
Oh yeah.
Right? How women dress, versus, how men dress, right? And we've got to just move away from that kind of thinking.
I think sexual harassment, while it is more protecting women per se, I think men should not be seen always as
The perpetrator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this whole scheme of thing, I think men and women should both speak up as to what are their experiences. And I think the law should cover and protect both.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because I do have this one experience where this lady, she is particularly touchy, she would go around without any intention, ill intention.
Yeah.
She just put her hand around the shoulder, rubbing man's arm and all.
Yeah.
And I have this man who came to me and said, could you please go let her know I am feeling very uncomfortable with her behavior.
Oh.
Yeah.
And did you go and talk to her?
Yes, I did. When I had that conversation, she apologized to him, and she was more mindful of her behavior moving forward. So.
And that's a great point, because it's not just women who are sometimes not aware of their behavior and the impact of their behavior. Sometimes, men who get accused of sexual harassment, maybe they're not aware that they are behaving in a way that make the women feel uncomfortable too.
Absolutely.
It's true. And I guess, why people talk more about the men harassing the women is, especially in the workplace, is, I guess, the whole idea that more men are in positions of power, right? And when we talk about sexual harassment, usually it's always about unequal balance of power, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, with women now, who are holding a lot more positions of power, so that's why that role reversal, could actually happen. I mean, I've heard, in the workplace too, that people have ambitious young women, who actually use their sexual power over the older men. I'm not sure who's the
real victim there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who's the perpetrator? But again, I think that's why this whole conversation around sexual harassment needs to come back around for respect for individuals in the workplace, as well as making sure that assessment of the performance, is not dependent on our gender and our looks. It's always got to be based, on a lot more objective criteria. And the second thing to your point too also is that's why it's important that we ourselves as individuals, regardless of men and women, need to actually express the discomfort,
Yes.
right, of the other person's behavior. Because sometimes we really are unaware of what the impact of our behavior on is the other person.
I think you hit such a great point, because that is key, isn't it? That first of all, we have to feel like we are empowered to speak up and let the other side know how you're really feeling. And if you're feeling uncomfortable, do speak up to say that, you're making me feel uncomfortable.
Because I'm also thinking, right, it is so relative to culture, to personal preference. So it can become very confusing as well.
Yeah.
While I interpret a certain behavior as acceptable, someone may interpret it as unacceptable. So when I was with a ex-company, European company, and I was attending a conference in Switzerland, and at the end of the conference, a colleague actually came to me and asked for my permission to see if he could hug and give a peck. And he said, this is actually in our culture to do it. I mean, I thought about it. So respectful of my Swiss colleague to have asked me for my permission
Yeah.
to do that. And so I think there must be a lot more training and awareness in the workplace, because otherwise it can be mistaken.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, right? Because in his culture, that's a completely normal thing to do, but in an Asian culture, maybe it's not so acceptable. How do you navigate these cultural divides and cultural norms and what's acceptable and what's not?
I think it's a challenge, but I think, she brought up a really good point, because even for me, in Asia Pacific, we deal with different cultural norms for people who are from India, right? Versus for people who are in Australia. In some of the more less developed, areas of India, even in the workplace, the women don't offer their hands to be shaken, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and if you actually do that or have a lot more overt physical kind of gestures, they may not actually feel comfortable, right? So if this is not something that is actually consistent with your culture, then, or the culture, that you are dealing with, then it's about asking, permission and demonstrating the respect.
Yeah, we really need to actually put a lot more effort to create a very much more inclusive environment, and in a way that everybody feels safe and comfortable. And if there's any doubt, ask and clarify to find out what is acceptable behavior and what isn't, and to try and find a way whereby everybody would not feel uncomfortable, whatever uncomfortable may mean. And you ladies were saying we need to actually take every case seriously. Thank you, ladies. It's so good to speak with you and to get your perspectives about sexual harassment at the workplace. Before you leave, I'd like to take a selfie with you both, ladies. Okay, lean in. We would really love to hear about your experiences and thoughts. Please leave them in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel and also find us on Instagram and Facebook. And more importantly, please share this video with everybody you know. You might actually really help somebody just by doing that.